The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison, Nicole Hutchison, and Jess Navarez.
Cowboys Nation was popping. The girls are back here on Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Nicole Hutchison, live in Oxnard, California for the Cowboys training camp alongside Christy Scales. We're both out here in some good weather. And we got Jess Navarez in the studio, live in the studio. Jess, how you doing, girlie?
You know, you're talking about that good weather in Oxnard. Hashtag cannot relate. It is hot.
Ooh.
It is hot over here.
That's
it is
tough.
humid. You're not missing much as far as the weather goes back here in Frisco. So enjoy the good weather for the rest of us that cannot.
I really hate that for you. That weather in Texas, that heat, man, is just not. It's not it.
I got sunburned
But today,
driving over
obviously,
here. Like, that's how hot it is. I got sunburnt just driving in
how
the
does
car.
that happen?
Like, my shoulder is sunburned.
Okay.
It's hot. It's because there's
Yeah.
like the sun right here, and then Texas is right here. Like, you can't see. I know you can't see me, but just know it's close. Like, we're pretty much on the sun surface right now. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have those problems. Well, actually, fortunately, we don't have those problems over here. But Christy, Jess, let me start with this. You know, the Cowboys obviously had a really good practice today in pads, but we also got the blessing to have Omar Epps, who is known for his acting skills, of course, been in so many movies, The Wood. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't judge me, guys, because I only knew the movie Love and Basketball, that he was in there, right? And so Derek, our boss, right, he says, y'all don't know who Omar Epps is? And I'm like, no, but I'm not really good with actors' names until I see them. And so he was like, Love and Basketball. And I'm like, bet. But he got the chance to spend today with the Cowboys, got a chance to talk to Micah Parsons, Zach Martin, a lot of other guys, and do his podcast from here. So it was a pretty cool day today. Christy, did you get a chance to talk to him at all?
I didn't get to talk to him today, but he's been out here at previous camps, and I'd say he's our first big celebrity sighting of the summer. So, but that's the thing about being so close to Hollywood or up in Santa Barbara. You know, Kevin Costner would come down, or we've had Denzel Washington. And the last time that the Cowboys had a joint practice with the Rams, Ty Burrell, who plays Philadelphia in Modern Family, just such a funny guy. He's a big Rams fan. He was here, and he and I were talking on the sideline right when the big fight broke out. So that's what I remember. Whenever I see him on Modern Family, I think about the Rams fight. And so, of course, the Rams are coming back. It's a big week this week. So today and tomorrow were install days 7 and 8. And then Wednesday will be a mock game, basically a walkthrough. And then Thursday is going to be a joint practice with the Rams, and that's going to be great. And then because the first teamers and some of the key second team guys that will not play in preseason games, they'll take part in the joint practices. So that'll arguably the best work that the first teamers have in camp.
With joint practice being on Thursday, it was good to obviously see today Trayvon Diggs in pads. A lot of excitement around that. He had his first live reps today in practice. He only played in one period of 7-on-7 drills, but talking about Trayvon Diggs, Christy, what did you like? I mean, obviously they're still trying to work him back in slowly, but what did you like so far seeing him in 7-on-7?
Yeah, just the fact that he was able to take part in it, and I think that when we talked about him last time, we said that Mike McCarthy said the plan is to work him back in smartly. So to take part in the 7-on-7 is great. There were team drills after that. There was the end of the day was again what they call a pressure period, where they put the offense in third and long and fourth and long situations. So he didn't take part in any of the 11-on-11 or the final sessions where they're doing more situational, but just the fact that he's doing 7-on-7 I think is a great sign.
Jess?
Yeah, not only that, but something Oh, no, you're good. Not only that, something I've really noticed. Man, that delay kills us sometimes. Something I've noticed throughout all of training camp, which has been really emphasized, it seems like, by Al Harris, is the pass breakups and the ball hawking abilities that are coming from all of your DBs. Yep. I mean, going down the list, you have Jordan Lewis pass breakup. You have Deron Bland, Kalen Carson. I mean, you keep going every day. It seems like there's a multiple set of PBUs going through every practice. So my question, I guess, to you guys, if you've noticed anything different that Al Harris or Mike Zimmer is doing, is that being more emphasized? And if so, what have you noticed? Because I feel like that's just such a good sign early on that ball hawking, especially in a new defensive system, is happening so quickly within training camp.
Yeah, I think it remains and will always be a point of emphasis. I think we've seen more of it this camp just because, the skill level and the maturation and experience of guys like Bland and Trayvon did have a pass breakup today, and like anyone but. And then, but the one that Trayvon Diggs had today, the pass breakup was on one over the middle where he came up. So I think that, and in your mind's eye, if you say, oh, there was a pass breakup, you think of it maybe on the sideline and kind of some closing speed there. But this one was more on like a crossing over the middle. So yeah, definitely good to see.
Good to see. And also, one thing that I did kind of notice is that he's a little bit hesitant moving horizontally, just a little bit, and that's as expected when you're returning back from your ACL injury. But like you said, Christy, he did have a pass breakup. His movement's still good enough vertically, right? But I think there's still going to be a little bit of hesitation with just the moving laterally for Trayvon. But it's just good to see him back in the mix. But when you talk about that secondary, what have you liked so far, Christy, and what have you seen so far from those guys?
I think Bland looks great. I think Kalen Carson might be a real player. I thought he might get, and Mike McCarthy was asked about his versatility and mentioned him playing inside some, but most of the time when I've seen Carson, he's been outside at left cornerback. Amon Hall, who was on the practice squad for the 49ers last year, has been working mainly second team in the slot behind Jordan Lewis. One player who's been working the way that Jaron Kearse did last year, Israel Mukwamu, down mainly taking on tight ends or some of the bigger guys in the slot. Mukwamu did not practice today. I think it was a muscle injury that he had, I guess, on Saturday or Friday, probably Saturday. But he didn't take part today. He was off over on the side. But, it's not just Bland. It's not just Trayvon Diggs coming back in today, but some of the young guys. Like, I think Carson's probably caught my eye the most.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard good things about Kalen Carson even prior to training camp, but it's good to see him really showing out. And again, you want to talk about a rookie that's taking advantages of the opportunities when all eyes are on him. That's how you do it. That's how you fortify your spot on the final 53, is doing exactly what he's doing and taking advantage of every rep he gets. Nicole, to go back to your question of kind of what has stood out about, the DBs in general, it's the confidence level for me. From the clips I've seen, the film I've watched, it is the confidence level in your DBs right now. And to me, it seems like they have quicker reaction times. And it's interesting. They seem comfortable in this new system under Zim. So I'm interested to continue seeing how that progresses, because it's such a good sign. I mean, I even go back to last year when Mike McCarthy installed his new offensive system with the offense. The big question was, well, how comfortable is everybody going to look so quickly under this new system, when they were so used to Kellen Moore's system? Kind of the same feel when you're coming off of Dan Quinn, and something everybody was very familiar with. There's a lot of Dan Quinn guys within this defense, and yes, some of them did follow him to Washington. We don't have to talk about that.
It's fine. It's fine.
No hard feelings except for 2 days out of the season. But I will say the way that everybody seems confident in this system should give people hope that they're soaking it in, they're taking it in, and more than anything, as a player, they're respecting what Zim is saying. And for me, that's a good sign going forward. You always want your players to have the respect for what is being laid down, even if it's new for them, and even if it's a little bit humbling when you have older veteran guys, say Tank, for example, that take things back to the basics to kind of retrain that part of his brain that maybe he's ignored for the last 8 seasons, or, when you get so familiar with things, you kind of forget the muscle memory that came with the basics. So what I love about Zim's system is it's creating confidence. It's ensuring that guys, no matter what experience level, feels confident within it, and they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing. You don't have people feeling like they need to be doing 10 things at once. You're focusing on what your job is, and that sounds as simple as it gets, but really you're just not reinventing the wheel here, it looks like.
Yeah, I tell you, a person that I'm really excited about this season, because hopefully he'll stay healthy and enter the season healthy, because he wasn't that last year, but Donovan Wilson. I think in Mike Zimmer's system, and like today, good thing for the offense that there was no like true contact today, because Wilson would have blown him up. But he's one of these guys that makes these, what Bill Parcells would say, catalytic plays. We've talked about Dono before, but today would have been one of those catalytic plays. I think he's really going to thrive in this. It seems like whenever there's a takeaway, if it's not Bland or Diggs, Dono's involved somehow. And then we cannot mention the defensive backs and not say something about Jordan Lewis, who is the first nickel corner, because he's so taken for granted. I think he's one of the most underrated guys on the team, but most respected among the coaches and teammates. And he's someone that Mike McCarthy was talking about in the walk-off today, just what a great camp that he's having. So I just want to give a shout-out to Jordan Lewis, because he's doing a fantastic job this summer again.
Kind of piggybacking off of Jess's point about the system, I think that these guys are also enjoying like the creativity that Mike Zimmer brings to this defense, right? I mean, when you have, maybe like a Jordan Lewis or, I don't know, Nahshon Wright blitzing, and, it's just so many different things that what Zimmer's bringing to the table, and I think that they're just enjoying it a lot more. And you can see it on the field. But one guy that I feel like we have not talked about is Nahshon Wright. He's been running with the ones a lot this camp. And I feel like this could be a year for him. What have you liked so far from Nahshon, and what have you seen as far as his growth from taking that jump from last year to this year, Christy?
The first couple days, I'll be honest, I thought that the receivers were getting the better of him, to be honest. And now, again, that's really kind of unfair, because it's not like you can, it's not like you're playing press and you can put hands on guys. So once you get into more of the padded and contact, you see it's a little bit better for the cornerbacks who are bigger, physical guys. But I think it's been stronger this past week. Are you seeing the same thing as I am, Nicole?
Yeah, I think he's just a little bit more confident. I personally didn't see that receivers were getting the best of him. I've seen him just constantly disrupt receivers. I feel like he's gotten really handsy as well. I've liked the fact that he's just playing with a little bit more confidence. Jess, what are you liking?
Yeah, I think he does struggle a little bit when he's on man, but that also comes with the territory, of his position. So to me, I feel like this is probably the best camp we've seen out of Nahshon Wright. But then again, your spot is up for grabs. That final 53-man roster is coming down to the wire. So again, I think for a guy like Nahshon, he knows that, out of the old system, you have an opportunity, and this goes for even guys like Wanye Thomas, you have an opportunity to make a name for yourself in this system. And so anytime you tell me a guy's working to make his name out of it, count me in on it. So he's a guy, I can't say he's caught my eye, given I'm not there, so I can't see every rep. But what I will say is, if you're saying that he's catching your eye a little bit more, keep that momentum going, because he's a guy that I'd be interested to see a little bit more in preseason, how he's doing and how he's grown in game time situations.
Yep. Outside of Duran, I'm going to make this a little hard. Outside of Duran, outside of Jordan Lewis, outside of... what other guy?
Carson, we were talking about Carson.
Kalen Carson, too. Outside of those three guys, if you had to choose a guy in the secondary that you feel has made the best impression so far through camp, who are you going with?
Oh, man.
I know.
He put us on the spot
that's
for that
a hard one.
You're welcome.
I don't know so much standing out, but someone who taking advantage of the more reps. Probably Eric Scott in his second year. So drafted last year, and he's been working second team, left corner, but behind Bland. Yeah. And whereas Nahshon's been on the right side, taking Trayvon Diggs' reps. So the opportunity for him to get these really valuable reps, and that's why having this joint practice in addition to the game with the Rams, going against receivers that you haven't gone against for the past 2 weeks, or seeing them in the off season and kind of know some of their nuances or how they run a route tree and things like that. I think it's going to be really, really good work. So I'm excited to see how he does in the competition starting on Thursday and then carrying through in the preseason game. So he would be the young guy that I'm most anxious to see how he takes advantage of this opportunity.
That's a great answer, Christy.
Jess, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go through the safety room because let's call it a spade a spade. That safety room was disappointing last season. And they know that, right? That's no shade. They understand that they, came off of a year that gave them high expectations and they didn't meet those expectations from the year prior. So I'm going to say the safety room was something I really wanted to see how they, one, operated under Zim, but two, the improvements that they've had, because I know there were some injuries throughout the safety room last year as well. But I'm going to go with Wanye Thomas. And, the thing about Wanye is he's a team guy. Sorry, I figured you were going to go for him. I'm sorry. You can double back. We can double back on this because you can agree.
Go ahead.
He's one of the guys that, again, we were talking about earlier, you're going to make your name known in this system. This Zim system is going to work for a guy like Wanye. We've known that since the beginning. Wanye has known that, and he's taken advantage of it. And if you remember, when we had him on the podcast, we asked him, pre-Zim, what do you want in a coach the most? And he said, I want somebody who is hard on me, who is going to push me, and it brings the best out of me. And what I've seen so far out of Wanye is just playing football. It sounds so simple. It almost just sounds too basic. But when a guy like Wanye has the confidence that he fits in this system, he has an opportunity, and he can bring back the basic necessities of just ball hawking again, you're going to see the best out of Wanye. I think a little bit more playing time with the ones will do Wanye some good. I'm not sure exactly how much he's gotten, Nicole. Maybe you can piggyback off of that. But I think Wanye Thomas is definitely a guy that his expectations were up here for camp, and he continues to exceed them.
Yeah, I think that, like you mentioned, Wanye just needs more reps. But you've seen him a little bit, just like you mentioned, also, like the confidence is there. And I think that he knows that. This is a big year for him. This is a contract year for Wanye. So he knows what's at stake. And when you know that, you tend to bring your game up a little bit higher, right? But, I mean, the way that Mike Zimmer's been using him, I think that he loves this new system. And so it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of builds on top of that over the next couple of weeks. But we've got to take our first break. And up next, we're talking Micah Parsons. I feel like we haven't shown this man any love on our show at all. But we're going to do that in our next segment. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
Cowboys Nation, Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, is now exclusively in the Dallas Cowboys app. Join the official fan club today to receive access to all of the new Cowboys drops, features, team news, and pre-sale access, and fan and kid of the game. Hello, I can read today, I swear. Download the app to join now. It's Monday. It is Monday. Literally. I had to double check just to make sure, but it is Monday.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It happens to the best of us. It happens. Cowboys Nation, welcome back in to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And this segment, we are shining a light on Micah Parsons, absolutely just disrupting 11v11 drills. Obviously, one of the league's leaders in QB pressures, led the league in 2023 last year in QB pressures, but he's coming in this season with a different mindset, and like he mentioned in I believe that was his first press conference here in training camp in Oxnard, is that he's taken on this more of a leadership role. He's not so much worried about the stats. He's just wanting to go out there and kind of like everybody else play football. And so far, Christy, I think that you can kind of tell that on the field. He's just anxious to have another big year ahead of him in 2024. Do you see that happening with what you've seen so far from him in practice so far?
Today, let's just say it's a good thing it wasn't the joint practice or regular season, because Dak would have been
pissed,
eaten up by the lion. Micah looked good today. And when they were doing the position group work, Micah was working with the defensive ends today. And when they got into the team stuff, he did linebacker and I think a little bit of end, mostly linebacker. Yeah. But there was times where he was coming off. It would be defensive right side over on the left side, and Chuma, and it's like Chuma was in for Tyler Guyton. Guyton missed his third straight practice due to illness, and so hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. But yeah, they had their hands full. The offense did, and it's just a good thing that he wasn't allowed to hit anybody. But I loved the press conference that Micah had last week, because he talked about the excitement with Zimmer, and that he noted that they're called Lion packages. Of course, Micah's nicknamed the Lion, but that the Lion packages in base, nickel, and in dime, and he did see more. Yeah, I think you're talking more kind of like a leadership kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's true that he didn't do all of his off-season work at the Star, but man, he's come in and it looks like he hasn't missed a beat. That's for sure.
What about you, Jess?
Yeah, we're just talking about Trayvon Diggs. No, it's okay. I was waiting for you to keep me up. I'm not being so anxious to talk this time. So we're just talking about Trayvon earlier, and I can't help but bring up the video of Micah and Trayvon going full WWE there at training camp. That camaraderie, that's the kind of leadership and, just overall, again, I said camaraderie already, but camaraderie that you want within your defensive system. You want within the defense. You want that energy to build off to the rest of the guys, because, look, it's hard to ignore. When Micah's pumped, everybody else is pumped. Like, if the Lion is roaring, everybody else is following suit, right? So we've talked about this before, how leadership can take different forms for different people. And I think what's so interesting about Micah is I think people have this perception of him that how he is on the field is how he is in the locker room. And he's a little bit more laid back, a little more chill in the locker room, but on the field, truly a lion comes out. And so when you have that kind of leadership on the field, and then you have Trayvon back and they're bouncing off of each other, like, that is what you like to see. But overall, what I really like, Chris, you brought up the Lion packages. those line packages have a lot of disguising of linebackers, which is just so fun to watch with Micah Parsons being utilized in that way. It has just been such a joy to see Micah kind of going back to Micah, right? And so I think that's also why you're seeing this energized version of him, because he knows, and Zim knows, and they've had this communication. They have their meetings with Micah, him, and Trayvon, and Zim, obviously, that Zim's getting them involved in the conversation, right? So I was a little worried. I'm not going to lie. I was a little worried post Dan Quinn how Micah was going to handle a new coordinator as far as getting his input in. And, somebody like Micah absolutely should have his input in the system. I'm glad to see that it's coming to light like it is with Zim's system. And those disguises, chef's kiss. I'm so excited to see it in a game situation. Oh, my goodness.
Well, the thing is, Micah Parsons is excited about it, and when he's talking about those meetings, Micah's a football guy. He loves the game, and he said one of the things with you referenced these early meetings in the morning that Trayvon's in, Micah's in with Zimmer. It's understanding the why. It's like, okay, when this pressure comes, or if Trayvon says, if I'm playing a guy this way, it's going to affect the quarterback, which means it's going to give you time with the pass rush. It's, everything on defense, offensive side of the ball too, but everything is a jigsaw puzzle. So you put one piece in here, and how one side of the field is being played affects the other side. And so now Micah's seeing it from a more holistic perspective. And as a guy who's a football geek, he's really keying in on that. And then the other thing that he was talking about in his press conference, and this is what I really loved, he was saying that, this game is more than a check to me, meaning paycheck. This game is more than a check to me. You only get 17 days out of 365 in a year to show you're the best. He also said that pass rushing is like art. It's an art because there's so much more that goes into it than just the physical part of it. So it was really fun to just hear him kind of talking about some of the intricate things that he does, but then also kind of shining a light on how he's looking at things holistically.
I think it's also kind of cool how you typically say if your front seven are playing very well, they're handling their assignments, the rest of the guys can play freely. Well, I think that so many teams, not that they don't already do it already, but so many teams are going to be worried about where the hell is Micah Parsons to wear with these different packages, right? And it's going to just allow everybody else to play free, right? And you've seen that through practice so far. And I don't know, I'm excited to see it like in live game reps and in practice on Thursday. I think that'll be really interesting to see as well.
Yeah, and he talked about dropping into the flats, like when he's in coverage. And it's kind of a joke between the media and Micah that he doesn't have an interception yet. And so this is how this came up as part of early in the press conference. You're finally going to get your pick, and he's talking about dropping in the flats, and that's when he was talking about kind of understanding how things work, and so I think it's great. But so far it's been really really great energy, and then today, like I said, woo. Jack's just happy he couldn't be hit today because it could have been ugly out there.
I've got to ask you ladies.
Oh, yeah.
This defense was already... Oh, I'm sorry, Jess.
No,
my bad.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say something, too, that I've noticed about Micah from this training camp compared to the last, Christy, 2, 3? 2, right?
3.
3?
2, 3? 3. Okay. 3. How many
right,
times?
go ahead.
Well, is the maturity level from Micah Parsons. I feel like that was a part of his game, coming in, and that. Look, let's face it, it's most players. Their rookie year, maybe even year 2, there's a little bit of maturity growing that they have to do as players, and especially understanding how to adapt playing for the Dallas Cowboys, because it's a whole different ball game, even if you come from a large-scale college and, you're media trained, what have you. When you come here, it's a whole different thing, right? And so Micah, I feel like, is very reserved for the most part, and so he had to do some adjusting, being the star Micah Parsons on the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that's a lot of pressure to put on a guy year 1. So I feel like there was just some maturing that had to be done. And I'm glad to see that, yes, he has that beast mode in him, the lion that comes out, especially during practices. And like you're saying, like, Dak's just glad that he didn't, have to feel the full wrath of it. But also, maybe a less mature Micah Parsons wouldn't know when to stop. And so I'm glad he has like that limitation now of like, okay, it's just practice. Like, I'm not going to go fully after Dak, but I'm also going to let him know, like, I'm not taking it on you easy either. Like, iron sharpens iron, and we're playing fully off of that.
I've got to ask you ladies this question. Since you guys have been here and been to multiple training camps, last year, around this time, how does this defense compare to where they were last year and now? Of course, under two different defense DCs, but just how would you compare the two defenses so far as how they look? Christy, I'll start with you.
Yeah. You're right, Nicole. It is kind of hard to compare when you've got two different systems.
Yeah.
And you have some younger guys, like when some of the veteran leadership is gone, like a J-Ron Curse and Stephon Gilmore are gone.
Yeah.
And so more opportunities for young guys, Diggs not being out there and Nashawn Wright getting the reps up until this point. So I'd say that's very different.
Yeah.
The other thing is with the defensive tackle spot, young guys in there and just kind of Osa is great. We've talked about defensive tackles last week, but I'd say that the thing is I still have some questions about that, but there have just been some changes on the defensive side of the ball with the coaching staff, not just Mike Zimmer, but you have Jeff Scanina in now for defensive line. Joe Witt's not there anymore in the secondary. You still have Al Harris and Cannon Matthews. But I'd say it's just kind of the style of coaching is different between Scanina and what we had with Adden Dirty. Adden was the defensive line coach who he left. He didn't go with Dan Quinn to Washington. He actually is now the defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, so great for Adden. But I just say it just kind of feels a little different the way that some of the coaches do their drills or just kind of the way that they communicate with the players.
Yeah, I think last year all eyes were on the offense because they were in the same position going under a new scheme and having to learn a new playbook. So for me, I think everybody kind of took for granted the defense knowing the DQ system and understanding it. And, it was, okay, yeah, Micah's out there. And you had your key guys playing at that point. You still had Trayvon. You had Deron Bland coming on his come up. Like, there were already key guys there set that you didn't have to keep an extra eye on the defense. At that point, I think it was really looking at your draft picks, very similar to this year. A guy like Eric Scott, we were watching closely last year. But overall, I feel like I would be more worried if there was a drop-off from last year to this year. Not that you're not keeping a closer eye on them this year because that's the case with, Mike Zimmer coming in, but you're also not seeing a huge dip in production, and you're not seeing a lot of, I guess, miscues, miscommunications throughout the defense as a whole. So I'd say, they're not on the same level because obviously with familiarity with DQ's playbook, there was advantages of that, but there's not a drop-off to having a new system coming in, which, again, should be a great indicator that the guys are picking it up and Zim's making it to the point where it's easy for them to do that.
For sure. Well, there's obviously they're going on a good route right now. Hopefully we can continue to see this defense continue to improve over the next couple of weeks in training camp, but it'll really go down and be real once the live game reps happen, and possibly Thursday against the Rams in practice. But for now, we've got to switch gears, ladies. We've got to switch gears to defensive tackles, but that's up next in our next break. After our next break. For now, you're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
The Dickey family always mandated that the only Polish-style sausage worthy of their restaurant must have high-quality coarse ground beef and pork, rich spices, and fresh natural casings. We still serve it to this day, and it's so popular, Dickey's sausage has been named the official sausage of the Dallas Cowboys. The perfect matchup on game day. Dickey's Barbecue Pit. No one outsmokes us. Order at dickeys.com. For groups, call 866-BARBECUE.
Dibs on the ribs.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Are you the 2024 Dallas Cowboys Fan of the Year? The Dallas Cowboys and Captain Morgan are celebrating extraordinary, inspiring, and original fans. Nominate yourself or the biggest Cowboys fan you know for a chance to be named the 2024 Fan of the Year and win prizes, including a trip to Super Bowl 59. Visit DallasCowboys.com/Fan of the Year, and of course, go Cowboys. There's a couple people I could nominate for that just off the top of the noggin, so keep that in mind.
Who?
My father.
Who are you nominating?
Have you met my dad? Insane. Like, you're talking about a man.
I haven't, actually.
I know, we need to fix that. He'll come for opening game, but you're talking about a guy. We living in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Like, we would leave Las Cruces, 9-hour drive over there to the game, watch the game, and then drive back. Like, my dad did that for years, even before I was even into football. My dad and my brother would do it, so I would say, like, my dad, he's giving some people a run for their money. Like, shout out to Dad.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Dad's
fan of the year. Our fan of the year from 2 years ago, James, he rented an RV and came out. So he was here over the weekend with his granddaughter. So it's one of the things with Captain Morgan, have the opportunity to help greet them when they arrive after they win and take them on a tour of the Star and everything and do some fun things for our fan of the year. But it was great to see him. But, yeah, I think you said it. Of course, they took their time, but it took about 2.5 days. They RV'd out, and so it's fun to see. It's very good fan support here. The numbers are down a little bit if you look over in the stands, but the fans that are here are passionate, and there are quite a few people that do their vacation around this. It's not just people from Southern California, from Oxnard or Ventura County or L.A. that come up. There are people that plan their vacation, so it's kind of like the last hurrah before school starts again.
They used to be my family.
Hopefully the fans can get re-excited this year. But ladies, I know I mentioned us talking defensive tackles before the break. You talk about looking around the NFC East. You talk about the Commanders with Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, the Eagles, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I mean, the list goes on. And the Cowboys certainly had a weak spot in the interior defensive line in 2023 when you talk about Mozzie Smith having to use a development year for that. Oso Odighizuwa obviously being the most consistent guy as far as production, but now heading into 2024, right, there's still a little questions about that depth. Christy, I'll start with you. You're starting to see a little bit of Carl Davis coming out and run with the ones, mix with the twos as well, but are you, I won't say satisfied with the depth, but are you at least like starting to gain some confidence, or you just need a little bit more? I know that confidence word, I don't know, but Christy, go ahead.
I want to see more. Carl Davis is one of these guys, technically like third year in the league, but been with several different teams. Let's see, the Cowboys are a 7th NFL team, originally drafted by Baltimore in the second round, all the way back in 2015. But he can be one of these, kind of a good rotational guy, big body to put in there. I tell you, I'm real interested to see guys, some of the late round picks here once we get to the once we get to the preseason games, more so than against the Rams, because with the Rams, it's really more about getting the ones and top twos, seeing what they do. But I know that they, I think Daxon and Rogers was drafted. They're going to get a lot of work. They are definitely big body guys. And Zimmer is one, none of these guys are going to put up big stats in Zimmer's defense. It's not set up like that. So trying to measure what they do against like the Jonathan Allens and Daron Paynes of the world, not fair. What Zimmer asked these guys to do is the dirty work and eat up the blocks. Yep. And one thing we were talking about, what's different this year when you're looking at the defense, I should have mentioned this earlier, but you're seeing more base defense 4-3, 3 linebackers out on the field at the same time. Wow, won't that help with the run defense instead of asking poor Marquise Bell with his defensive back body to play linebacker. But yeah, some of those. So Carl Davis, one of these experienced guys that can play behind Mozzie, but let's see what Daxon can do and what Justin can do in their time.
Yep. Jess?
I mean, look, get me somebody who can control that A gap, other than Osa. And here's the thing: I'm not shading Mozzie. I'm not shading Justin. I'm not shading any of these guys. It's just after truly learning the skill set and knowledge that has to come with time in the DT position, it's not just something you get right away. Even if you're really skilled at it coming out of the draft, it takes time to really understand it. And that's something that I learned from Jonathan Hankins last year. When he really broke down why Mozzie was struggling so much last year, he pretty much said, you have to shave it all the way back to the basics. Even if you think you know, you don't know. And for a guy like Hank, who I know he wasn't the end-all be-all solution of this whole depth problem here, but it would have been nice to continue to see some retention with a veteran guy that you don't have to build up, quickly. You're not kind of putting this pressure on, hurry, 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 we need you now, the depth is needed right now. No, it's already there. He can step in and be comfortable. So for me, I'm going to be honest, if there's a most worrisome position on this team right now, it's the DT room for me personally. The lack of depth, and injuries happen all the time. You're one away from being oh shoot, what next? So I'm interested to see after preseason, or maybe during preseason, if some guys are brought in. I feel like that would be a good time to bring some guys in to maybe work out or see what happens. But I just feel like the DT position, you're rolling ankles, you're planting your feet down so much, it's inevitable that something is going to happen. The wear and tear on these guys' bodies as quickly as it happens because of the strain they're putting on. You have 300-pound men coming at you. That's going to do a lot of wear and tear quickly, people. Yeah. I just feel like going into this season, you need more depth. It's not I would like it. Obviously, you would like it. It's a need at this point because that's the one position that, look, it's a trickle effect. That DT position isn't stout enough, guess where it's going to trickle back to? Your linebackers. And then you're putting more wear and tear on your linebackers, and then you have a beat-up Micah Parsons by week 8, and you're wondering, why is he a little bit slower? If you can just degress that progression so much by getting you an extra guy there, just do it. So for me, I do worry. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I hella worry about the depth at DT, where it is right now and where it stands.
But at this point, do you go out and find someone? If so, who?
Well,
at this point.
Yeah, that would be. See, that's the thing. The way rosters are cut is changed over the last few years. You used to have 2 cuts during the course of preseason before you had the final roster cuts. You would go from 90 to 75, 75 to 60, and then just the last several guys after that final regular season game. Now you just go from 90 to 53. So there's a very good chance that there are a couple of defensive linemen that are going to be on the 53-man roster that are in other camps right now. Yeah. That's just a fact. But I would say especially that position. It happens across the league. Every roster is going to have some guys, where you're looking to add depth. So same thing. Heck, same thing could happen at running back. Who knows? But The other thing we mentioned, because when I was talking about Justin and Daxon earlier, those are more like the big body guys. I think it's worth repeating. I think we said it about a week and a half ago, where Junior Fehoko is not playing end. He's playing behind Chauncey Goldston, who's behind Osa on like the 3 technique thing. And so these guys are more kind of like taller, leaner, not the big, stout guys that play a 1 technique, the really wide body defensive tackles. So Fehoko, even when you had the injury situation to Sam Williams, Fehoko didn't bump outside. He's still working inside and being used the same way that the Cowboys used Chauncey Goldston last year.
Jess, do you have something real quick?
No, I was just going to piggyback off of that and ask both of you, what have you seen from Junior Fehoko overall? I mean, have you seen progression? Have you seen growth? Have you seen more confidence? Because to me, it feels like another game of confidence with a guy like Junior Fehoko, who, has the opportunity right there, and it kind of sounds like they're setting him up to have the most success under a 3-tech situation. But what have you guys seen from him, if it's worth mentioning?
Well, really not that much, to be honest. Yeah. But until you just really can't judge it from the sideline in practice if you're not able to watch the coach's film and if there's not full contact. So I think both Nicole and I might feel like we're speaking out of turn to try and make a judgment on that. Really, the main thing is alignment, assignment, technique. Is he where he's supposed to be and taking on the blocks the right way and work on off them and stuff. And but what I'll do is before the next podcast, see if we can talk to some coaches and find out more on Fehoko.
And Mike McCarthy was also asked about that yesterday. Last week, and he had just mentioned that he just needs more reps, right? I mean, I think that's really what it is for a guy like Fehoko. But I have seen him off to the side. Like D-Law has really started to take him under his wing. You've seen him kind of coach him up a little bit. I think for him, it's just going to be about how much do you sponge it all in, like take it all in and just keep taking advantage of every reps. Because you're seeing all these young guys take advantage of all their reps, but they're actually they're producing from it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really what you want to see more from Fehoko, but only time will tell for him. I think for that 3-tech position, you're talking about Chauncey Goldston, who obviously knows that his opportunity, he has a good opportunity playing behind Oso Digizua as well. But in terms of Mozzie, right, supposed to be that big space eater, being able to take on double teams. Mozzie's supposed to be the guy this year, but like we all mentioned, that depth just is not there, and now the Cowboys are possibly going to have to search for a guy, and that's what we'll probably talk about next week, ladies.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But I would say one more thing about Mozzie real quickly, and that is during the walk-off with Coach McCarthy after the main part of his press conference today, he just kind of reminded media, he's kind of chiding them for, hey, you guys really rode this guy hard, and he's like, hey, remember, he's learning a new system too, just like the offensive guys had to learn a new system. You guys talk about that. Well, you got to think about it with defense too. So 2 years in the league, 2 different systems that Mozzie is learning. He's not making an excuse for the guy. Yeah. He's just presenting facts as they are.
And also, but I think he's handling it very well. My bad, Jess. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, people were so quick to jump on Mozzie, media included, fans included, everybody was so quick to do it. The thing is not only was he struggling his rookie season, which you've seen time and time again from different guys in different positions, and yes, he has the first-round draft pick, spotlight right on him, so understandably so. You're expected to perform. However, that DT position we've talked about is just way more intricate than people understand, and not only that, he gets injured in the process of all of that, and then that sets him back even more. So not making excuses for the guy, he needs to step it up this season, not playing that down by any means, but he's doing what he can do right now, which is coming back from injury, learning a new system, going back to the basics, retraining his body, muscle memory. The guy's doing it, and I've seen progress from him even in just the last 2 weeks. It's little, but it is there. So it's an uphill battle at this point with Mozzie.
Yeah, well, certainly going to be a lot of fun watching these guys. Oh, man, on Thursday. What are y'all looking forward to most, guys? I've got to ask real quick before we head out.
Yeah.
What are y'all looking forward to most on practice on Thursday?
1 versus 1s, and let's see if Tolbert and Tyron Billy Johnson and Jalen Brooks, you know, they've looked really good, but let's see them go against some different corners. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I want to see if the run game
Jess,
is in the
what about
room
you?
with us. I want to see if the run game is in the room with us this scrimmage, right? I want to see where it stands and kind of who is getting those 1 reps a little bit more to indicate who they're trusting a little bit more as running back 1. I'm keeping a very close eye on that running back position.
Mine is these corners and how they kind of go up against these other receivers, especially Deron Bland, because I got a chance to talk to him about how he's looking forward to really minimizing the big play this year. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye out on Thursday. But
and
ladies,
who, Nicole? Who?
This was good. You know what? We're not doing this, Jess.
Ended on a good note.
We're not doing it today.
Ended on a good note. This podcast was
anything but bland.
Ooh.
Anything
Thank
but
you.
bland.
Just makes me.
All right. That'll do it for today's episode. We'll see y'all on Wednesday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?